We are.
Live, and then you do it all over again.
You knew exactly who I was when you let me.
Well, I like it. I'm the first woman to get a divorce.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel once again. Today I'm super mega excited to share the story of Muriel and Sandra with you guys. Let me tell you, this movie definitely got me on edge. But before we get into further details, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. And if you guys have watched the movie, please let me know your personal opinion down below in the comments, because like I always say, your opinion does matter and it matters a lot. So let's get right into further details and actually speak about this wonderful. I will definitely rate this movie a strong 9 out of a 10. That's how good it was. So let's get right into further details and not waste any more time. So basically, it's a drama romance. The story follows Muriel and her husband Lee are about to begin a bright new life, which is basically upon the arrival of Lee's brother, where everything gets a little bit more complicated. Muriel embarks on a secret life. She actually became into horse racing and discovers a love that she never thought would be possible with another woman who is actually her neighbor, in this case, Sandra. Yes, there is a lot that we have to speak about. So in the beginning of the movie, you can actually see that, in this case, Muriel and her husband, they were planning on buying a house, and obviously they were counting on the help of, in this case, Lee's brother, so that they can all come together and make it possible. But it wasn't, possible that way, because, Lee's brother had other things that he wanted to do, and he also had another life that he was living as well. In this case, he is also a gay man. So yes, also another queer story that happened in this movie, but I will focus on Muriel and Sandra. So later on, basically, Muriel, she moves to this new city with her husband. They actually end up getting some money. Muriel ends up selling her mother's house so that she and her husband can get this place. So, basically that's what happened. It was a very difficult decision for her, but she did it because, her husband also was like, hey, we need to do it, we need to do it. And she actually ended up doing it. So now that they have the money, they bought the house. There's where, in this case, Muriel actually met Sandra. So who is Sandra? Sandra is her neighbor. Yeah, she's a lesbian, and in this case, she has her own life. She lives in her mother's house, if I'm not mistaken. She sells eggs and also kind of other type of products. In this case, if I'm not mistaken, olives, or her neighbor sells olives and all of that. So, on her way from her house, because they are neighbors, basically Muriel told her husband, hey, let's stop here, I want to buy some olives. So when she went in the house, she actually saw Sandra, and they just had this initial, bond. See, like right off the bat, you can see that the two, just bonded. And obviously, Sandra gave, Muriel the olive for free, and end up buying the eggs from her also. So later on, Sandra was kind of at the back of, Muriel's head. But obviously Muriel, she's married. Her and her husband, they have a very normal relationship. They work, they come home, they spend time together. Very, very normal relationship. But also Muriel has her own secrets from her husband as well. And yes, it's just a lot. You can see that Muriel definitely, sees her husband is a good man, that he wants the best for them. But you can see Muriel is not very happy. There's something missing in her to make her happy and fulfilled. So later on, Muriel, she starts to develop this connection, short connection with another lady, and that lady definitely sparked, the curiosity in her for her to be with a woman. So she, in this case, Muriel actually ends up going, in this case, to Sandra's house. They were having a party, a all ladies party, and obviously this when they had their first moment together. They hooked up, they did a couple of one twos, and then later on they just started to hook up and have this affair. But you can clearly see that Sandra started to get a little bit more involved with Muriel than Muriel with Sandra. Than Muriel with Sandra in this case, yes. So you can see that, Muriel was also at the same time worried about her brother's with her husband's brother, because he was also living a life, and then she also had her marriage to worry about. She also had, like I said, her secrets to worry about. So there was just a lot going on. So her focus wasn't really for her to be with Sandra or actually develop something with Sandra, but she definitely did enjoy, her times that she had with Sandra and that she was having with Sandra. And Sandra also knew the situation that she was getting herself into. Sandra knew that in this case, Muriel, she is married, she has her husband, she has her things going on. also progress, you can see that it's very difficult because the moment I saw Sandra, how she was looking at Muriel, I knew that she was gonna be the one to get hurt in the situation. I just knew that she was gonna be the one that was like, hey, I want like just falling for someone more than they are falling for you. And I kind of cannot get mad at Muriel because at the end of the day, she didn't lie to Sandra. Sandra knew what she was getting herself into, but also it's that emotional thing that you don't know, like, okay, she knows it, but is it okay? Am I doing the right thing? So later on, you can clearly see that in this case, Muriel's husband ends up finding out about the affair, in a very interesting way, because they actually found out about the affair when Sandra actually ended the things with Muriel, because for Sandra it was something more, and for Muriel it was just having fun. So that moment that they broke up, when in this case Muriel was leaving the house, that's when in this case Muriel's husband popped out, and that's where he put one and one together, because he already knows and he already can see the signs what is happening, because his brother is gay. So it's kind of way easier for him to detect when something is there and something isn't. So obviously her husband was heartbroken, he couldn't believe it, but he also had a very mature conversation with her and basically told her like a story that happened when they were younger, and so on and so on. And basically her husband just told her like, and she also, both of them mutually came to agreement, if they're not gonna be happy with one another, if they don't want the same thing, then it's just better for them to part ways. So that is exactly what happened in this case. You can see that Muriel actually ends up leaving a note and some money that she gained from the horse races, and gave him some money, and then she went back. And also, she can see that she actually ended up breaking up with her husband and in their marriage, and saying that he's a good man, and but they just don't want the same things. And you can see like the moment where she was walking away from her husband with her luggage and everything, you can see that she had this stare at Sandra's house. Like I really thought that she would go and reconnect with Sandra, but later on you can see that she actually ends up finding, in this case, going back to her roots and rebuying back her mother's house. And she was more of the sort of which I could see she was living alone and just restarting her life, and like single, she wasn't with Sandra, she wasn't with her husband, she was alone. And also, her brother-in-law also ran into the sunset to go and find his lover as well, which was waiting for him in Las Vegas. So there is a whole lot that was going on. To be honest, I really enjoyed this movie. I really hope that, Sandra and Muriel, they would have been together, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. But this movie is about discovering yourself and finding self-healing, and basically moving on and wanting the best for you, and putting yourself first, and taking time for yourself. I feel like all the characters got the ending that was pretty fair. I feel like everybody at the end of the day got what they wanted, even though it's not in the way that we all thought they would, but yes, they did. So the movie is very good. Once again, it is called, if I haven't mentioned it, is called On Swift Horses. Yes, On Swift Horses, On Swift Horses, On Swift Horses. You can watch it on Apple TV, and you can also watch it on Prime Video. So yes, guys, that's the movie. Amazing. Go ahead, go watch, go support, come back. Let me know your thoughts on it, because this one, amazing, like I said.